Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my show. Appreciate you being here. Every Thursday, we're back with another episode, almost every Thursday, but the majority of them. Each and every week, we're talking to great people in the city doing great things. With my podcast, I like to kind of focus it on being a diverse guest list. You know, one day you'll hear about a beekeeper, one day you'll hear about a chef, one day you'll hear about a business owner, and then, you know, next day Edgar Snyder will pop up on there. And that's just what I'm trying to do with this. I'm trying to keep this podcast fresh. I'm trying to keep it enjoyable for everyone. It's interesting whenever I have people slide in the DMs and, you know, all different people, all different ages. And it's just cool to hear about who appreciates the conversations. Like sometimes, you know, I'll have a rapper on and like, you know, just wowed the people that'll reach out and say, you know, like that was a good episode. You know, that was an interesting episode. And it's cool to hear the feedback. It's very much appreciated. Keeps me excited, keeps me interested, keeps me wanting to just keep grinding at this podcast. And I appreciate any support that I get out there for this podcast. You know, anyone that's doing anything out here in the city, you know, they appreciate it. They appreciate the support, whether it's a DJ, whether it's a chef, whether it's someone who's, you know, making candles. People just appreciate the support, even if it's not spending money with them, but sharing their products, just kind of, you know, sharing their work on social media, you know, liking a post, you know, letting someone know about it. Like it goes a long way for people. You know, we're in this world where people want to break out of the corporate environment. They want to work for themselves. They want to be their own boss. They want to create something that's their own. And people are out here working hard doing it. And anything that is helping them along the way is appreciated. And I feel like that I could echo that out for anyone that's doing anything really. But if you want to appreciate my podcast and you want to support my podcast, what I'm doing here on I'll Call You Right Back, I have a Patreon. A Patreon is a way for you to support the show. There's an option to subscribe to my Patreon. You could go to patreon.com, I'll Call You Right Back podcast. Just search it right there, or you could go to the link in my Instagram bio at I'll Call You Right Back. Click on that and you could sign up for the Patreon. And what the Patreon is basically just a way for you to, you know, throw a couple coins my way. $5 a month, you can subscribe, and that will allow you, you know, I'm trying to work in some stuff to, you know, like some perks. You know, if you're a Patreon subscriber and you want to support the show in a monetary fashion, like I'm trying to give back to some extent. So I'm working on that. I'm figuring that out. But this $5 tier is just a way for you to, you know, say thanks. And I appreciate it. But patreon.com, I'll Call You Right Back, you know the name, and anyone is much appreciated. But anytime someone becomes a Patreon subscriber, they get a thank yous on an intro. And this week we got Gage. He just became a Patreon subscriber. And, you know, I just got to say, dude, I appreciate it. I appreciate it from everyone. You know, I'm almost at 20 now. You know, that ain't nothing crazy. But like, to me, that's like, you know, that's dope for me. 20 people that like appreciate what I do. 20 people that want to support what I do, want this to keep going, and means a lot. But the reason that everyone is here this week I sit down with a very great guest, long overdue. I sit down with Alex Brown. Alex is he is currently the Chef de Cuisine at Oakmont Country Club. If you are not familiar with Oakmont Country Club, then I don't know. I'll explain it to you, though. Oakmont Country Club is considered the ultimate examination of championship golf. That's what it says on their website, at least. But Alex is a chef, and he is a great one at that. And, you know, he's been working around the city for, you know, a stint now. And recently he ended up becoming one of the big guys at Oakmont Country Club. And, you know, I hit him up and I was like, let's sit down and talk about it. You know, we get into his life. We get into the beginning of his life, how he kind of got interested in food, how he got interested in cooking. And, you know, usually whenever I talk to chefs, they always have a very, very interesting path to where they currently are. Usually going to all different kitchens, spending time in all different types of kitchens, all different types of environments, and it's pretty cool to hear about. It's fascinating to hear about it. Some environments good, some environments bad, but nonetheless, all very interesting. And this week we talk all about it. So I'll let you get to it. Alex Brown, unfortunately, you can't just walk up and try his food because you kind of got to have a bag on you to get into Oakmont Country Club. But support that guy. You know what I mean? Any way you can, really. Throw him a like on Instagram. That's about the best way you could support him, because I don't know if any of us are eating at Oakmont Country Club. But I appreciate it. Without further ado, episode 248 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Alex Brown.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast.
Funny enough, I got it before I even started working at Oakmont. I got it like 6 months ago.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in the store every now and then, and I was like, hey man, if you ever get any like Oakmont stuff in, like let me know, because I collected this stuff before I even worked there.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had this and he had a jacket. He's like, you want it? And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's my wife literally lives right next, or my wife's, she grew up right next to that Sheetz right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's like,
I go to that Sheetz and get a car wash once a week.
Yeah, I could like throw a baseball at her house.
That's
and
crazy.
It's wild because like before I started dating her, I wasn't like a golfer really. Like I didn't golf that much. And then like, I start seeing her and I'm like, Jesus, that golf club is insane over there. And she's like, oh yeah, it's a wild one. And then I start learning about it and I'm like, wow, like it's
crazy.
Next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Oakmont, just from the road, you're like, this is a different level, no carts. So I'm like, they got to mean business there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I start learning about it obviously as I become a golfer, and, it's just wild. So it's cool that you were a fan of it before you got the job.
Yeah. It's always been something that I kind of like chased.
You're a golfer? Like you've been a golfer for a while?
Yeah. I played in high school. So
okay.
I probably like 2005 I started playing.
Yeah.
And then
when did you graduate?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you from around here?
No, I'm from the middle of the state. I'm from Bedford.
Bedford.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Breezewood. That's kind of what we're known for.
Breezewood, everyone knows.
Yeah,
Breezewood.
everybody knows Breezewood out here. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The black and gold store. And everything.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. Were you a big high school?
No, I think our graduating class is like 150.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's wild. I feel like mine is small because I graduated with like 220, 230.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
But it's like some people were like, yeah, a little bit smaller. And you're like, it's interesting. It was interesting to go to high school and like that amount of people.
Oh yeah.
Small, little, not a big, not like a huge thing. You drive past some of these high schools, like my wife said, Plum was crazy, and like Baldwin, and they just, you can't even imagine 500 plus people.
Yeah, people that you
stuff.
Don't even see for like
It's
months.
weird. You go to a small school, everyone in the school. So you started golfing like in high school?
Yeah. So I kind of was interested in it. Like, of course, like that was prime Tiger Woods time. So like, I'd sit around and like watch Tiger's like final round when he's just running through the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever I was in high school, a couple of my good friends were on the team, and I was like, you know what? I don't play sports. I want to play sports. So, I'll give it a go and see how it works out.
How do you gravitate towards that? Like whenever you started?
It was tough. I have an athletic mind. I don't have a very athletic body.
That's the best way to describe me. It's like I give it 100%, but it still doesn't give me that reward.
Yeah, I mean, even in my career, like I have problems getting what my brain wants my hands to do. It doesn't really translate sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, golfing. Like all 4 years of high school, you did?
I think I joined after freshman year, so I did 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, were you decent?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I was like, so the top 8 people made basically varsity, and we would travel to like tournaments and outings and stuff. And I think I was like 11 or 12, like my sophomore junior year. And then like I kind of snuck into that like 6-7 role.
You were there. Year. You were there just as long as you were there. You're putting it in. You're putting the time in.
Yeah.
What kind of other stuff are you into? Like, were you always like someone cooking?
A little bit. Like I was a competitive bowler, you know.
Really?
Yeah, a long time.
Like
Since I was like 3 years old.
Like bowling, but like 300? You bowl 300?
No, I've had a 289.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
still chasing
like,
that 300.
Wow. Or do you bowl still?
I haven't since I moved to Pittsburgh because I haven't had a steady schedule. I don't know really what every week's going to hold for me. So, you know,
when did you move here?
2017, end of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, competitive bowler.
Yeah.
Then a golf team. You know.
Yeah, I got good at all the old person sports, so now I can start hustling the guys that were like on the football and basketball teams.
Honestly, it's the smartest thing to do. Like I played football my entire life, and I'm like, I probably give myself a ridiculous amount of brain damage. We weren't even good. You know, like I played all these. You know, you beat your ass, and you're not even like good. We didn't win a game my senior year. So it's like football. In hindsight, maybe not exactly what I would have loved to do. I was just a big dude, so I played that. But now, as I'm a little bit older, I'm like, God, why didn't I play golf? You know, like, why didn't I play golf in high school?
Right.
Because, like, I'm obsessed with it now. It's like, I love it now. I wish that I got out more, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess whenever you're younger, you just don't really like think about it like that. But bowling, how do you get into bowling?
Yeah, it was a family thing. Like my grandfather did it, my grandma did it, my dad was in it.
Yeah,
like I grew
sick.
up. I basically grew up in a bowling alley. Like I was always like doing my homework in the back table or like
I love
bowling
that.
on open lanes. They just turn on lanes for me, and I'd mess around while my dad was bowling leagues.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's a cool origin story about that. You got to get back out there around here. Supposedly we have some good stuff.
Yeah, there's some good lanes around here. I haven't found a league that fits my schedule yet. Usually they're always evening and they're always like late in the week, which is whenever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's when I'm working.
We grew up. I mean, like we didn't grow up, but like before we moved here, we lived over in like Kraft and Ingram. And an infamous Kraft and Ingram lanes.
Yep.
You know, they do the nude event.
Yeah,
people always see it on Reddit. But my wife worked there for a little bit, and you know, it was cool to always. It was literally right next to us, so I would always walk over there and. It's just like a different vibe, you know. You're in the vibe of a bowling alley. And, it's cool to see, you know, kind of like the back inner workings of it all, and like, you know, it's a cool place to grow up. It's like growing up in like a pool hall or something like that.
I feel like it's underappreciated.
Underappreciated, absolutely.
It's very blue collar, like Rust Belt.
Absolutely.
But, you know, you don't really
have a pitcher of beer, you know, just like, you know, out there bullshitting.
Yeah.
See, I wish that I enjoyed bowling more. I'm more of like I'll bowl a game. And then I'm just there to BS with people.
Right, yeah.
And like but you know, I become more fascinated like Justin Boyd. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He is a photographer in the city, but he is a avid bowler and he's been turning it back up. He always used to say like, dude, I was nice bowling back in the day.
All right.
And now I think he bowled 300s in the last like couple months.
Okay.
So I always see him and the rest of their crew. What's the one, maybe Arsenal?
Oh, yeah, down there in Lawrenceville?
Yeah, but it's like I see everyone bowling now, and I'm like, God, I wish I liked bowling. I like playing pool, though. Like, I'm about to just start going to host pool nights.
Oh, yeah.
You know, little pool shark. You play any pool?
I don't. I've dabbled in it, but I used to give all my energy to bowling. So.
Love it. I love that. Now, when's like cooking come into play? Like, you know.
So, I mean, it's always been around. Like, I always tell everybody I was the kid that was watching like the PBS cooking shows on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
Like America's Test Kitchen, Julia Child, Jacques Pepin.
Yeah.
Martin Yan was my guy.
Oh, wow.
If you've never seen Yan Can Cook, just look
Yan
some of that
Can
up
Cook.
on YouTube, man. You'll never go to a restaurant again. You'll just cook at home all the time.
That was just like interesting to you?
Yeah, I was always interested in it. It was always like kind of floating around there, but like, you know, I feel like a lot of chefs have like this romantic idea of like, oh, I always cooked with my mom or my grandma or my dad or like some romantic idea about it. And
like someone introduces you to it at some point.
Yeah,
like, I mean, that's what you would think, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mostly I was like raised on fast food.
Yeah,
and like convenience items and things like that. Like we didn't have that strong like home cooked culture. Like we didn't sit down around the dinner table every night.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of see it as my sport.
Yeah.
You know, I was interested in it. You know, I was interested in like the sciencey aspect of it growing up.
Did you do like home ec in high school and stuff?
Yeah, we had it in middle school, but it was more like
you bake some brownies and like
nothing
like
crazy.
I loved all that stuff. Like I remember taking sewing. You know, everyone else was taking like we had these electives where people could do like go to take a second gym, and I did like sewing and home ec. It's like me and a couple other dudes, and like the rest are all girls. But it's like I loved cooking, I loved sewing, all that stuff. Like the homemaker end of it all.
Oh yeah.
It was just interesting back then, just making things.
Yeah, that was like, especially like coming from that small town like high school. Like I think in 8th grade, like the project was you had to make this giant pillow in home ec.
Yeah.
And that was like the landmark thing for 8th grade. Like you come home with this giant pillow.
Mm-hmm. I remember my fabric. It was SpongeBob and Patrick.
Oh man, that was mine too.
Yeah, it was a big one. And I made it big enough for my bed. We had it so long. I think my brother actually still has the one that I gave him. It's a dog bed now. Yeah. It's a Scooby-Doo dog bed. But those were some of like the best. Like I was a Boy Scout too, so it's like Boy Scouts, you kind of like had that ingrained in you. Like you're always cooking your own stuff, so it kind of like forced you into that like mindset of what you could do. I remember coming home and like making scrambled eggs on the stove, just things like that. Whenever I was even real young, but that's it's interesting that you started to like the shows, because I remember I don't think I watched any of those cooking shows back then. Like I don't remember I don't remember having the memories of watching those.
Yeah. Like I was always like there were still cartoons I was watching. But
yeah,
like,
for sure.
I had that planned out, and especially on Saturday mornings, kind of like working it around bowling leagues.
Yeah,
because it was always in the morning on Saturdays. So like I'd watch a few, go to leagues, come back. There were like 3 hit cooking shows on right in a row. Wow. And it was pre Food Network era too. So that's like the only exposure you had.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I remember whenever like that whole like, Food Network thing came in and BAM and all that, that kind of was like what, the early 2000s maybe?
Yeah.
Now coming through high school, kind of getting ready to graduate, what's your idea what you want to do for a career?
So I was really into like computers at the time.
Yeah. Like games and stuff, or
like that
programming.
Like programming, building computers. I mean, it was the Windows 98 like XP era, so things were way easier.
Come on.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I always kind of thought about that a little bit, but it was always like everything was always like way down the list. It was always chef was at the top.
Really?
Or something cooking wise, yeah.
Wow, yeah. That's so interesting. It's so interesting to hear people that like have an idea of like what they wanted to do in high school, because like, I don't know, I just never knew. And it's like every time I hear someone be like, yeah, like I kind of knew that I wanted to be a chef, it's like, it's wild to me to like, I just never had that mindset.
Yeah.
I just did not care about things.
That was like, so kind of like going back to the sports talk, like, so I did a couple of summer camps at the local technical school in middle school.
Yeah.
And it was just like 4 days for like 4 hours a day or something.
Yeah.
And they had a culinary program. So I kind of like got introduced, met the instructor, did it for like 2 or 3 years, and was like, okay,
yeah,
I want to do this while I'm in high school. So you could split your days and do half day at the technical center and then half day getting your.
Oh, you went to tech for cooking?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wow.
I did.
When does that start? 9th grade?
So ours started in 10th, but some programs do start in 9th.
So it's the entire year you're splitting half and half?
Yeah, it was half days. Yeah.
Wow.
So I like posed a big problem to my home high school because I was seen as an academic student. I was always ranked in like the top 10 in GPA. And the way that they split the schedules, basically the not high GPA kids were the ones that were going to the technical school.
Yeah.
So they had this problem where they couldn't figure out how to fit my academic credits in with my technical school curriculum.
Yeah.
So I think I took like 2 histories my senior year. And like 2 sciences or something my sophomore year.
Yeah, so it was
just all jumbled up, and they really like my guidance counselors and everyone really pushed me. They were like, "Why are you doing this? Why don't you just go to college.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be doing this. And I pushed back and was like, no, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's
like
wild.
you're telling us all the time, figure out what you want to do with your life. I have a good idea of it. Why are you giving me pushback?
What are you doing in like tech? Like what kind of stuff are you doing there?
So it was like institutional foods.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily culinary school. They kind of get you set up like to work in an institution. So like a hospital or something like that. So it's like very basic things like knife cuts, safe food handling, how to work as a team, how to read a recipe. Yeah. I kind of equate it to like pre-culinary school.
Yeah. Just to get your feet wet.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you do that for 3 years though?
Yeah.
And does it get increasingly harder? Like whenever you're a senior, are you like, kind of moving towards culinary stuff?
Yeah, so it was like 101, 201, 301 kind of thing. Like,
are you able to like kind of hone in on your focus of like what you want to do, rather like if you want to do like French cuisine or something like that, or do you kind of just like you're still doing like a gen ed, so to speak? Yeah,
so like it was more geared towards like skill level things. So like your first year you're making salads, easy things like that. Your second year, you're kind of making...
Is that called garde-manger?
Yeah, it is.
Come on now, let's go.
Yeah, the second year, we're doing a little bit more. And then the third year, you're like cooking some meats and things like that.
That's cool. Yeah. So what happens, like, what's your idea of what you want to do after technical school? Like, is your idea to just go to the Culinary Institute?
Yeah, so I had considered it. So there's a lot of like moving parts in that era of my life.
Yeah.
So, being undersized, being like 5'3", and I think in high school I was like, I didn't hit 100 pounds until I was in like 10th grade. So, I basketball is out of the question. I'd probably get beat by 5th graders. I liked football, but never was going to survive in that. We had a state championship level like wrestling team.
Oh, wow.
And everybody was like, hey man, you're like 112 pounds. You should join the wrestling team.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no, because everybody in those weight classes have been like state medalists.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go be a crash test dummy for the wrestling team. So,
yeah.
That's what kind of pushed me towards golf. And then that's also what kind of pushed me towards the kitchen, because I saw the kitchen as something that I was really skilled at. It was physical, and that kind of became my sport.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm really good at this, and I'm going to keep going with it.
Yeah.
So then, I was also very fortunate when I was 16. We had a big historic hotel get a $120 million renovation, Bedford Springs.
Wow.
And it opened.
Wait, Bedford Springs, like the big one up there where they have weddings and stuff, right?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the one. It closed in the 80s because of floods. And then there was a bunch of lobbying and stuff going on whenever I was growing up. And then the summer that I turned 16, they reopened after a $120 million renovation.
No way. So it was closed for 25 years?
Yeah, I used to, that's what all the kids would do. They just go down, and it was decrepit, condemned, just in terrible shape. And kids used to just sneak in there and hang out and walk through. I remember walking through it whenever it was boarded up and just terrible.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, that was actually the golf course that I learned how to play golf on, because it was in such bad condition. It was $10 for a round.
Wow. That's fascinating. I didn't know that was something that, was relatively recent.
Yeah. They reopened it in 2007.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got very fortunate, and, both of my sisters worked at the local Burger King, and, I was destined to make that a three-peat.
Yeah.
And, the summer I turned 16, they reopened it, and I just went to a job fair. Actually got hired to be a server assistant, busboy.
Yeah.
And I called the director of food and beverage back and was like, no, I want to be in the kitchen.
Wow.
And my mom's just like, what did you just do? Why did you do that? And then,
so you were working there at 7, what, and after high school, you're still graduating, do you just think you're staying there?
Not necessarily. I mean, so when I was there, I was working 40, 45 hours a week,
Is this while you're still in high school?
Yeah. Department of Labor. Don't go look at those documents or anything. But yeah, I was there. I was doing homework on the line while I'm doing service, and like the executive chef's like, "Hey man, put your chemistry book away."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Well, do you want me to work tonight or not?" Because like, I'm still like have a high GPA and I want to get these scholarships for culinary schools. So,
wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So what happens after that?
Yeah. So, I end up going to IUP for the culinary school there in Punxsutawney.
Yeah.
Hanging out with Punxsy Phil.
Yeah, my wife went to IUP.
Nice.
Everyone goes to IUP,
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah, it is a popular destination.
It's like the 13th grade, like ours. We have so many people that went to IUP and like Cal U and stuff.
Yeah.
But what made you want to go there?
So I toured a bunch of places, and I toured a couple of places in Pittsburgh, like the Le Cordon Bleu that's closed down, the Art Institute that's closed down. I looked at the Culinary Institute of America in New York, and it was just outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
And after talking to a lot of people that I worked with,
the IUP one was pretty highly regarded though, right?
Yeah, it's one of the best on the East Coast.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I feel like that someone else I had on went there. I think I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure someone else did, and they said that it was like pretty highly regarded without the price tag.
Yeah, it was, and it's a quick program too. So, I don't have an associate's degree, but in this industry, it doesn't really matter. It's all about experience.
Yeah.
So, you go.
Like, do you get credits for all the tech that you did in high school towards college? Is that like what you do it for?
So I think they've worked towards that.
Yeah.
But back when I was doing it, it was more just like, see if you like it before you go off to culinary school.
That makes sense.
But yeah, you go for fall, spring, summer semesters, and then at the end of summer semester, they're just like, all right, see you later.
Yeah, don't
and
they send you on
they get you a job. Like you have the opportunity to interview with all these like exclusive clubs and hotels and restaurants and stuff. And then you can go literally wherever you want.
I'm pretty sure I interviewed Anna Calabrese, who she went there. I think she was the one who told me about it. And then she worked at like a spot down in Florida.
Oh yeah, they send a lot down there to Florida, to North Carolina.
Where did you go after this?
I went to Nemacolin.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
like the big one up there. Wow, that's all. Did you have like a say in that, or is that just where you were placed?
I wanted to stay close to home because, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do after I finished that externship.
Yeah.
So it's 600 hours that you have to work, and then your externship's done. You've officially graduated school. And then you can just do whatever you want.
Well, now, whenever you're in school and you're kind of like, focusing in on like what you want to like, what you want your strength to be, it's like, what are you gravitating towards that you liked?
I don't know. I just liked it all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you didn't have like a main thing that you wanted to do.
No, I mean, I was just hungry. I wanted the world, and I just wanted to chase it.
And Nemacolin is like, I mean, I would assume a good place to go, right?
Yeah. They had so many different restaurants. So like you would do a 2-week rotation in a restaurant and then go to another one, and you get to see all kinds of different stuff, all kinds of different ingredients, styles, meet different people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, are you getting your hands dirty in there?
Oh yeah. They're, like interns are what fuel a lot of these places. Like,
yeah. I guess that would make sense. Now, what is like, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, did you watch The Bear?
I love it. I just finished season 2 last night.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
It is the best portrayal of a kitchen show out there.
Now, that's what I was going to ask you. It's like, I mean, as I watch it, it's fresh in my mind, and like it goes with the stereotype that a kitchen is militant, or a high-end kitchen is militant. Yeah. Even a low-end kitchen, I guess, is militant. But it's like, was that your experience, coming up kind of?
Yeah. It's
crazy like that.
I mean, obviously, a lot of the TV shows like
it's glamorized a little bit more,
a little bit too dramatized in some aspects. But I mean, it's like 90% there. Like I resonate with Carmi a lot. Like when we watched the first season last year, like my wife and I, like we could only do like maybe 2 episodes at a time, and then I'd have PTSD. I'd have to like go sit on the porch and just like.
Well, I mean, are you someone that like was all right with that sort of like environment? Because as I'm watching the show and I think about it, I'm thinking about it. It's like, I've never worked in any sort of like food restaurant, and and my wife was like, oh, it's crazy. Like that it's, so, strict and like, high energy and like high, high, what's the right word? It's just like intense.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but I feel like that in that type of environment, I would like thrive with that sort of, it's militant because it has to be, but like whenever you're in a place that's like militant, that's like kind of like corporate, that's where I feel like it's, where it would be hard for me to work in that sort of environment. Like if it was just like an office where you're like, clipping away at a keyboard and it's like crazy militant like that, I would never be able to do that. But I feel like I can understand why it's like that in a kitchen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess to answer your question, I was okay with it until it wasn't.
Yeah.
I kind of spent the first 8 years of my career just doing that.
Yeah.
And it was just, everything was a certain way. You're working 60, 70, 80 hour weeks. You miss a lot of events. You're just grinding because you want to get to the top. You want to be the best. You want to stay the best.
What was your goal at that time? If you're at Nemical and you're working there, but it's like, what is your goal?
So I was only there for 2 months.
Yeah.
So I finished my externship in 2 months. So 600 working hours in 2 months.
That's insane. What's it usually take people?
3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And then I think I was done right at my 2 month mark.
They pay you for that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Barely, but
yeah, but at least you get something.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like, you have an idea though of what you wanted to do.
So I was at a crossroads. I thought about coming to Pittsburgh because I had some connections from the hotel previously.
Yeah.
That were trying to get me out here, and we had a couple of illnesses pop up in the family, so I went home.
Yeah.
I went back to Bedford Springs, and then I just kind of started from the bottom. The hotel had changed ownership. Basically all of the management was different in the kitchen. So I knew the building.
It was new to you.
But everything else was brand new.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just worked my way up from the bottom.
What did you start out as?
So I came in as like a banquet prep cook. One of the sous chefs that was there when I was there previously. And he like kind of got me back in the group there. And that was just the only opening they had. So I came back in and then,
you're just working like banquet style, like you're just making a bunch load of everything.
Yeah, I'm just prepping all day, like 10 hours, just making as much food as I possibly can, and then
and you enjoy that.
I knew that it was necessary work to get to where I wanted to go.
For sure, I love that.
6 months, a year of it, wouldn't have been bad.
Yeah, you got to earn your stripes.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think I did that for like 3 weeks, and then I went back to the restaurants.
Yeah,
and just worked my way up. And I'd say probably after like 4 years, I was running all 6 restaurants there.
Wow! So you gravitated towards it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like, what did you like? What was like your skills? Like, what were you good at? What do you think you were best at?
I like the way that I thought out a menu.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of friends that have put out albums, and our conversations are a lot like menus and albums are very very similar. Like you gotta know what your vision is and kind of trim it all down so it fits that vision.
Yeah,
some good things are gonna get left by the wayside, but you can come back and get them.
What kind of restaurants were there?
So we had like an upscale steakhouse. We had like a fine dining one with an open kitchen so you could see us.
Yeah.
When I expedited that kitchen, I was standing like probably 3 feet from a couple of tables, so you could hear everything I was saying. You could hear what the kitchen was saying.
Yeah.
We had a bar kitchen. We did room service out of that kitchen. We had a pool kitchen. And then the last like 2 or 3 years that I was there, we opened up a clubhouse for the golf course. Wow. So I got to help like design a kitchen and
that's dope.
Like open it from scratch.
So when you say you were running these kitchens, like, are you like you're the guy that's like calling out the tickets and everything like that? And, like, what are you doing?
So
are you cooking all the food?
No. So the chef like very, very rarely cooks the food.
Yeah. That's what I'm gathering from the bear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're like, for people that are, it's hard to like, compare. For my comparison, you have Richie, where, he's kind of like, running around. You have Carmi that's like, making stuff. And then you have Sid who's like, running around calling things out. It's like, what were you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was coming up through, I was probably close to Sid.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, in my last few years there, when I was Chef de Cuisine, I was was Carmi.
Yeah. And you're like, figuring out menus and like, whenever you're saying you're running these things, like, are you, how are you running 6 different places?
Yeah, it's a lot of trust in your staff. There's sous chefs in each restaurant.
Yeah.
And they all kind of report to me, and then I make sure that they're doing what they're doing,
Like you're picking these menus?
Yeah. Yeah. And then coming through and making sure that, everything's prepped right. I would start like station checks at like 3:00 for a 5:00 dinner service. And I just walk through every kitchen, taste stuff.
Yeah.
Talk to everybody, make sure everybody's good. There's no problems.
Are you a hard ass?
I was back then.
Yeah.
And then I grew up a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Were you like the younger, position of power type of hard ass?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it was, it's tough being a young chef.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I think I was like 24 or 25 running 6 restaurants.
Yeah. But I feel like you got to be like an animal. It's like dog eat dog.
Yeah. And it's tough in that position too, being that young, because, you got
to demand respect.
Yeah. And especially in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of older people in it.
100%. And that's like why I ask these questions, because like, it's so fascinating for me, because from an outsider's point of view, I keep referring to this Bear Show, but it's like you said, it feels like an accurate representation, even besides like, the Gordon Ramsay shows and all that shit. It felt like kind of like an accurate representation on like what you would see. And I try to like put my mindset like in what it was, especially knowing that I was going to talk to you today, because like if you're younger and you got these older people that are doing things, like the first part of the show, it's like, you have the OG chefs that are like pretty much like, fuck you, you're going to come in here and try to like boss me around. So if you're a young kid that's like going in there doing all this stuff, it's interesting and it's fascinating to hear.
Yeah. It's a very big challenge for a young person, especially in the kitchen. Like you have to put yourself in their shoes, which is very difficult to do when there's a 10, 15, 20-year age gap.
Yeah.
You got to treat them with respect, but also make sure that you're getting the respect back.
Yeah.
And, that's what kind of leads to the 60, 70-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
You want everyone around you to know that you're pushing the whole operation forward. You're not letting someone else you're not run it.
Yeah, you're not being a dictator. You're being like you're part of it.
Yeah, your hands are in it. You're doing it with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty fascinating. So you spend your time there. How long are you at Bedford Springs?
I was there 10 years total, but the last stint after culinary school, about 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a stint.
Yeah, it was a while.
Definitely a stint. Now, I mean, like, what's the reasoning for leaving there?
So there were a couple of things. So I won like I don't know if it was a competition or if I was more selected, but I got a stage opportunity at the French Laundry in Napa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ryan Peters did too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was actually the same program.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm pulling out these like, these little, I know this, but it's only because I talked to these people like the French Laundry. After I looked it up, I'm like, insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could have gone anywhere in the world. I had the opportunity to pick. It was, you select your top 3 choices and then they'll reach out to them and see, but it was Thomas Keller's foundation that did it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a shoe-in if you pick the French Laundry. So,
yeah.
I mean, I was like coming up through the ranks.
How old are you at this time? 25?
Yeah, 25, 26, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And you and French Laundry's in California?
Yeah.
And how long is the stage?
It was for a month.
For a month.
Yeah.
So you go out there for a month.
Yeah.
And you go through the ranks there?
I just kind of see everything that I can.
Yeah. But you observe everyone from like, all the different things.
Yep. Everything.
It was, it's fascinating to think about, like the low end, the low end positions of the highest, end restaurant. You know what I mean? Like these high, or is it a Michelin's? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
A Michelin restaurant, but it's like, the dishwasher's there. It's like everyone's there, the polishing of the forks and everything. Yep. It's such like a cool thing to try to like conceptualize that, because it's such a small thing in a regular restaurant. Like, you go out to eat somewhere, you go to like a, TGI Fridays or something like that. And it's like a, low pressure, but you think about these high end places and like how militant, but how like calculated these things are. And that's what's like fascinating. It's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's a lot of it is managing your expectations.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to a TGI Fridays, you know, you probably have an idea of what you're going to expect.
Yeah.
If you're going in there looking for the best meal of your life, I mean, hopefully you're altered in some way.
For sure.
Cooking at that level,
Yeah.
you know, I had always like dreamed of it, romanticized it. You know, the French Laundry Cookbook was one of the first ones I bought when I was a teenager. Looked through it all the time, and getting there, like I tell people this all the time. Getting there was awesome. I'm so glad I did it. Never again.
Yeah. It was intense?
It was wildly intense.
Yeah, Ryan said that one time that the first day he came in, he had like a little peach fuzz on his on his mouth.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's what he said. He sent him home and made him shave and then come back. And I was like, Jesus.
They made me shave at lunch break because my 5 o'clock shadow had grown in from the time I started my shift. They were like, hey, go home and shave and come back after lunch.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's and it's like, you know, that's like the tippy top of like the militant.
Yeah.
Like you're feeling
that's
like
old school.
that.
That's why I'm rocking the mustache now. You know,
yeah, I feel like you don't have a lot of like high end chefs with like big bushy beards.
Yeah, it's changing, but
that's slowly starting to change.
That's definitely one of the old school things that stuck around.
Now, whenever you did that there, I believe Ryan also said that he, you know, whenever you leave there, they lace you out with like a full meal. Did you get that experience?
Yeah.
Was that pretty incredible?
It was awesome.
I mean, like, is that the best meal that you've ever had?
It's up there.
Yeah.
I put some other things there solely for sentimental value.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be an experience. After watching this show, I'm like, you know, these high end restaurants, like, yeah, it's expensive, but it's like, you know, an experience.
You're getting more than just food.
Yeah.
You're
whole
getting,
experience.
Yeah.
Now, what happens after that?
So I come back and I realize, you know, I kind of hit that peak and I was like, you know, I don't need to chase that anymore. I scratched that itch. I've found that I don't want to do that at that high level. So
it made you realize you didn't want to be in that sort of environment.
Yeah, I was like, I'd always wanted, like, I remember in high school, like my senior English class or something, we had to write like 50 things we want to accomplish in our life. And like number 3 on my list was like, get a Michelin star. And people are looking at me like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to experience that, I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where like my mindset started to shift. And I was like, you know, I'm 26. My now wife, we had just gotten together. And I was like, I want to live life. Like I don't want to be chained to the kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, she had just come into town from Charlotte. She grew up further east in PA in Mercersburg. But she was working at the hotel and she was just out of school and wanted to go back to an urban area. And it just so happened to be it was the second of the back-to-back cups for the Penguins that summer. So we came out, we watched a game on the big screen, and we moved to Pittsburgh that year.
That's what brought you?
Yeah. I've always been a Penguins fan, but them winning the cup really helped. It helped push my agenda forward a little bit.
Did you frequent the city before that?
Not really. I mean, we'd come once a year for a Penguins game, me and my dad. But
love that.
That was pretty much it.
Love that.
Outside of the downtown circle, I had no idea what Pittsburgh was.
That's cool then. So what year did you end up getting in here?
The end of 17.
The end of 17.
Yeah.
And, your experience to come here, like where do you, what do you do for a job when you first get here?
Oh man, it was like 6 months of planning. I was all over Craigslist, Indeed, just applying to jobs and
all restaurant jobs.
Yeah. All chef jobs. Having that Chef de Cuisine level job on my resume helped a lot. It kind of pushed me to a different layer of the industry.
Yeah.
So when I was interviewing, like we would come out like once a week, get a hotel room at a discount through Bedford Springs, and then I do like 3-4 interviews a day, and just figure out where I fit, what all these restaurants were about.
Did you have like a place that you wanted to work here?
I staged at Cure.
Oh, okay.
Closed a couple years ago back in Lawrenceville. It was like one of the original big
high-end
restaurants
places here.
That really like started that restaurant revolution, and like, I don't know, what was it, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. I kind of just felt out a lot of places, just trying to get the vibe of what Pittsburgh was, because there's a lot of, especially in big cities, there's a lot of restaurants that present themselves as good.
Yeah.
And then you get in there and you're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, shit's backwards.
Yeah.
Now, from your point of view, did you think that we had some decent restaurant scene?
Yeah. That was the year where like everybody was going on about Pittsburgh. Like I think Food and Wine and like Bon Appetit were like, Pittsburgh is the next food city.
Huh.
Like this is where it's going to be.
So there was a lot of potential for places.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, where does it go after all these interviews?
So I end up at Bar Marco in the Strip.
Bar Marco.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been there, but I've heard about it.
It is somehow, I think they've been open for at least 10 years now, and somehow it is still a hidden gem in the city.
Yeah, I hear about it all the time, but it's like one of them places that you hear about that I just have not been yet.
It was the exact culture shift that I needed.
Yeah.
Coming from a big hotel chain, running 6 restaurants, and then coming to Marco, and it was me and another dude, and that's it.
What do they serve there? Like, what type of food?
It's like scratch-based or Italian-based, like scratch cooking.
Yeah.
So, they make all their pasta there. They make all the sauces there, all the salads, everything. Everything is made
in-house. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. They had a couple of James Beard nominations. Like I think they were Food and Wine, like best new restaurant.
They got some accolades on
them.
them.
They got some
bells and whistles.
Yeah.
So how long are you there?
So I was there for a year.
And what happens after that?
I just kind of bounced around the city.
Try to figure out what fit you well.
Yeah, especially being at the same place for like 10 years.
Yeah.
You need to broaden your resume a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just started finding things that were different. I worked on the North Shore for a year, and I just wanted to see super high volume from a scratch kitchen.
Yeah.
This is the only scratch restaurant on the North Shore. And then being across from Stage AE, having the ballpark there, and Heinz Field.
What do you mean whenever you say scratch restaurant?
So you make everything from scratch.
Oh, okay.
You don't buy anything pre-cooked. I mean, obviously, you're still going to buy Heinz ketchup. Because otherwise, people in Pittsburgh aren't.
But like, you're not buying like sauce in a jar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And what was that place?
It was the Foundry.
Okay. Yeah. Another place I just never been. I never experienced so much. You know what I mean? Like before I moved to the city like 7 years ago, I just never frequented it at all. And I'm a creature of habit. Like I have a couple places that I go and I just beat them to death. But I need to expand a little bit more. So you're a Foundry for how long?
About a year and a half or so.
And then what's your next move?
So I went to 11. In the Strip. It's
another place I hear about, never been to.
That's like one of the OGs of Pittsburgh. They've been around for like 20 something years. Like that was the place in Pittsburgh.
And what kind of what kind of food?
They're like upscale, I guess new American, like just kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Again, a scratch kitchen, like super fine dining, getting back to that like high level stuff.
Yeah. And then you're Chef de Cuisine there?
I was a sous chef there.
Yeah.
A lot of places structure differently. It just depends on the size of your restaurant.
What's a sous chef's daily duties usually?
Everything.
Yeah. Well, now what are I guess there's a prep cook.
Right.
And that preps all the stuff. The sous chef is what? And then the Chef de Cuisine is what?
Yeah. So I always like to tell people the difference between a chef and a cook. Especially a sous chef and a cook. Cooks cook the food. Sous chefs are responsible for the people cooking the food. And then they usually end up cooking the food anyway. Okay. And then they're also the punching bag for the chef whenever something's not going right.
Shit rolls downhill.
Yeah. You're the person where chef turns to you and goes, "Hey, fix this."
Yeah. Chef de Cuisine is like, just making sure everything's running smoothly, tasting things, and fine tuning.
Yeah, so that's usually a bigger operation.
Yeah.
So the way it was structured at the hotel, like we had 2 chef de cuisines, myself who oversaw all the restaurants, and then another chef de cuisine that oversaw all of banquets and catering.
Yeah.
And then the executive chef was above both of us.
Okay.
And kind of oversaw everything.
Yeah. Making sure you guys aren't dicking around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now what happens after?
So that's right around the time COVID hit. So, you know, I worked for 11 technically for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But we were closed for 11 months, I think, from COVID.
Okay.
So I kind of did a tour of Big Burrito.
Yeah.
You know, I worked at Soba for a few weeks. I worked at Kaya for a few weeks. Washed dishes at a Mad Mex for a few weeks, which was... I never thought I would add that to my resume, but, you know.
Why not? Another
there.
tool in the toolbox.
Yeah. We watched a lot of Netflix while I was washing dishes, but...
I just went to a wedding and they were listening to Slayer in the back while they were prepping. I was helping someone do flowers at a wedding, and I went back to fill up this water jug to fill up vases, and the chefs are all back there making charcuterie, and just listening to Slayer, Raining Blood was cracking me up.
Those are the best like prep songs because they keep you in the moment while you're doing like some monotonous task that takes like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I had a prep cook that would listen to Godsmack while he cleaned like 30 cases of mushrooms.
Fuck yeah. I love that.
That's great.
Well, it's wild to also think about that, like, you know, like people that just go into a restaurant and they order food, you know, if they have one thing that's made, like you said, cleaning cases of mushrooms, like people that are literally cleaning cases, cutting up cases of peppers, cutting up the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like, you know, it's something I feel like that, you know, doesn't get people that have never worked in a food industry or don't even like really think about it in that way. It's something that just kind of gets left behind. Yeah. But it's just like
they're one of the most important people in the restaurant.
Yeah, it's
them
wild.
And the dishwashers. Like without them, the restaurant doesn't go.
That's what I interviewed another buddy. He in Streets on Carson's. He that's what he said. He was like, the dishwasher is the most important person. He was like, if they don't come in, then we're all fucked.
Yep, exactly.
And it makes sense because it's like, you know, I never really thought about that. You're not going to have pans if you need pans, and you know, it's logically right. So, I mean, COVID kind of destroys everything for people in the food industry.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a tough time. You know, places closing left and right. You know, there were days where, you know, I'd wait for a call and see what chef called me for what shift at what restaurant in the group I was working at. Cause you couldn't plan more than an hour ahead most of the time.
And you guys are just making a bunch of food for takeout?
Yeah, it was takeout. I remember, the day all the stimulus checks hit for the first time and nobody knew it was going to happen, we watched the printer print checks for 5 solid minutes.
Wow.
And we're all just looking at each other at this Mad Max like, what is going on here? Like, is this a joke?
Yeah.
And then one of the line cooks pulls out his phone and he goes, oh man, I just got my stimulus. And I was like, oh, we are in for it.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, what happens in that moment where you guys are just like, you know, like, how do you stay afloat? you make it happen.
Yeah, you just start moving, and eventually it's gonna end.
Yeah, you smoke cigarettes?
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever?
Never. Haven't even tried one.
That's interesting because I feel like if I worked in a kitchen, I feel like I would be a chain smoker.
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
I know that it's part of the culture, but it's like I feel like I would fall into that.
Yeah.
Just like
my dad was very, very cut and dry with me when I was a kid. He used to smoke 2 packs a day, and then he quit cold turkey when my middle sister was born. And he was very clear with me when I was a kid. He's like, I don't care what you do. If I ever see you with a cigarette,
you're gonna die.
It's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's a big dude. He used to be an amateur bodybuilder.
Yeah. I used to bitch at my mom so much, and then I ended up starting smoking in high school, just like an idiot, you know, just dumb shit.
Yeah.
But so I mean, like after, like, what happens? How do you manage COVID and your goals and what you want to do?
You know, it was a lot of just
touch and go.
Yeah, you know, you couldn't get too far ahead of yourself. You know, for a lot of people too, like right in the middle, it probably felt like, you know, this is never going to end.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep going through this crazy cycle over and over and over again. So, you know, I just kind of, you know, went with what I had. And, you know, whenever you see things start to change and start to improve a little bit, then I was like, okay, now what are my next steps since this entire industry has changed? I mean, the food industry has been flawed for years. Abuse of free labor, underpaid, all kinds of crazy issues.
Yeah.
And COVID just kind of pushed all of those right to the front.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as much as the food industry changed from like the 90s to like the mid 2000s with like kind of that rock star culture, with Food Network and like, chefs are the rock stars, Anthony Bourdain, things like that. It was kind of another revolution.
Yeah.
Everything changed, wages, line cooks disappeared, dishwashers disappeared, and it just made everything exponentially harder.
Yeah.
Along with, things that are culinary related, like produce, goods, the supply chain. Like, it was just struggles in every aspect of the job.
Yeah.
You could order something as basic as like broccoli or red peppers, and they're like, yeah, we don't have any.
Yeah, I remember whenever it was crazy for people to like, I remember the guy that I know, he was talking about flour, getting flour in at one point. I think that something else really random.
There was a mustard crisis like a year or so ago, and it was like, what do you mean you don't have any mustard?
Yeah, it's wild. Right now, I cannot find siracha anywhere.
Yeah, they ran out of the peppers, I think.
I know, that's what I hear too, but it's like I look at every spot and it's always, it's always empty there. It sucks. That's it's interesting to hear about all that, and it's like I feel like talking about COVID is like I feel like it's just beat to death now.
Yeah.
But it's like part of everyone's life and how they like kind of got through it, especially like a chef, because it was detrimental to everyone in the food industry after I hear about it all. But it's crazy. So I mean, the other end, things start to open up, things start to kind of go back to normal. Where do you go from there?
So I decided, once things started opening back up, I was like, this is my chance at an executive chef position.
Yeah.
Like, I've been chasing it. I think at the time I had been in the industry for like 14 years.
Yeah.
I was always hesitant to move up too fast. There's these kids that come out of culinary school and they're right into a sous chef position. It's like, what do you know other than culinary school?
Yeah.
Like,
what experience do you have?
Yeah. Like, there are aspects of this career that you can't get in a classroom. You can't get in 6 months, a year, 2 years. Like, the longer you do it, the more experience you're going to have going into a position. Therefore, you're going to be more successful at it.
Absolutely.
So, I didn't take my first sous chef job until I had 6-7 years in the industry.
Yeah.
I was always terrified. I had a chef early in my career be like, hey, you need to be known as a good cook and not a bad chef. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I'm a good cook first then.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I was at like year 14 and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go find an executive chef position and see what I can do. And it just so happened that Wiggle Whiskey in the Strip had just added a restaurant before COVID. And they opened it on Friday. And then on Sunday was like the nationwide shutdown.
That's crazy.
So it was basically a clean slate to walk into. It was, I think I started and they had just lifted the requirement where you had to buy food in order to purchase alcohol.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that.
So I literally had a clean slate. I could just come in and do whatever I wanted.
Well, I mean, like it was like a full kitchen completely?
Yeah, it was. I kind of joke. It's like a glorified snack bar kitchen. It's very small.
Yeah.
You probably couldn't fit more than like 3 people in there at once.
Well, what was being made there?
It was just like, at the time, it was like small appetizers, like dips, some chips, things like that. Like basically things that you could buy that would enable you to buy the alcohol.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Vehicles.
Yeah. They hadn't really fleshed out who they wanted to be or what they wanted to be because they had to scrap it all almost immediately.
Yeah. So how does that progress?
I mean, I really hit the ground running. I think I had years and years of just thoughts stored up that, I wanted to do whenever I was an executive chef. So I just
started to execute.
Yeah, I just went for it.
Well, what do you, like you're trying to go beyond, excuse me, all these like, small plates and dips and everything. You're like opening up to making like, real food.
Yeah. I mean, it's it was a unique experience because the kitchen is really there to get you to buy bottles or buy drinks, showcase the product. The general consensus was, and I wanted to change it, and that's why it was so ambitious. It was people aren't coming here to eat food; they're coming here to get the alcohol.
Yeah, you guys are the afterthought.
Yeah, so let's see if you can do something to throw some extra bucks in for us. But I really pushed the envelope with it, and I wanted people to come there for the food. And in the first 6 months, it was tough, but we got a good following of people that were just like they didn't drink; they were just coming in for the food.
Yeah, and like, what were you making?
I really focus on small plates. That's the way I like to eat.
Yeah,
if I go somewhere, I'm getting
a bunch of small,
three, 4, or 5 small plates. But being in the Strip, you got to kind of cater to everybody that's walking around down there. So we had pierogies on the menu.
Oh, okay.
We had a burger. We had a chicken sandwich. I wanted anybody that came in the door to read the menu and be like, hey, there's something on here for me.
Yeah.
If you're really into food and you like technique, there's something there for you.
Yeah.
If you're really into trying new things and new flavors, there's something there. If you want a burger and pierogies because you're on your way to Lefty's, it's there.
Old Faithful right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how long were you there?
So I was there for exactly 2 years.
Exactly 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years to the day.
To the day.
And
didn't
now,
even plan it that way.
What even happens there?
So ownership of the company changes hands.
Yeah.
You can get into the Google search results on that.
Yeah.
Learn the story there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some philosophical differences, and I was like, you know what? It's time for something else for me.
Okay.
So again, I kind of just went through Craigslist, Indeed, just seeing what's out there. They're still in that recovery phase from COVID. So
yeah,
I feel like there were some places that were feeling out and looking to go a new direction, or they're looking to open something. So there were opportunities out there. And then I just happened across a Chef de Cuisine role for Oakmont.
And I mean, like, Chef de Cuisine, like, how many are there? Just one?
Yeah. Yeah, just one.
I mean, how many, like, what's a good way to gauge, like, how big it is? Like, how many are you, like what's a buffet size there?
So I would say, like, we do events for hundreds of people, like 200-300 people.
Okay, yeah.
But the Chef de Cuisine role is kind of similar to how it was when I was at the hotel, where
there's a banquet.
Yeah, there's a banquet chef, and then I oversee the restaurant.
What restaurant? Like,
so,
I mean, like, what do you guys have there?
So we have 4 different dining areas, and they all kind of serve different things. But a private club is a very different experience from a restaurant. And that was kind of the only thing that my resume was missing.
Yeah, because I Googled it because I was like, oh, I'm going to go and I wanted to buy an Oakmont hat. And you're like, you can't even get you can't even get information on the website. Yep. You got to request it.
Yep.
And I'm like, Jesus.
It is the weirdest feeling, because this is the first time in my career where I can't just be like, oh yeah, just swing by and grab dinner and like I'll hook you up.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that you're not even getting past the security gate.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Different level there. So like, what's like your, if you are applying there, like, I mean, what's your idea? Like, what's the interview process like? Is it pretty thorough?
Yeah. So it's very similar, like industry wide for something of that level.
Yeah. Like, what's it typically?
So,
like, you got to come in there and make a meal for someone?
Yeah. So,
I love that.
You're like, I had an initial phone interview. We industry wide, we do that just to weed out the people that aren't serious.
Yeah. You can immediately tell, like, come on now.
Yeah. Like, are you well spoken?
Yeah.
Do you actually have any interest in doing this at all whatsoever? And then there's an in-person interview, usually with the chef, one of the sous chefs, executive sous chef, management, somebody's there. And then they invite you back to do a cooking demo. Some are mystery basket, kind of like Chopped, where they just give you a bunch of ingredients and they're like, here, this is what you have to make, so many appetizers, so many entrees, so many desserts. This is what time you have.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Luckily, this one, it was, I had to plan a menu.
Wait, does that that like intimidate you? Like are you intimidated for that situation?
The first one does. The first time you do it, you're like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
God, that just gave me like a jolt of anxiety whenever you said that.
And it's tough too, because you're in a kitchen that's not yours.
Yeah. And you're so like, here's some capers, some salmon, and a chocolate bar.
Yeah. And it kind of makes you, look like an idiot, because you're like wasting 15 minutes trying to figure out how to like light the fryers.
Yeah. And you don't want to ask, you're not going to, you're not asking for it.
Right. So luckily this one, and I praise this interview, because this is by far going to be the standard for me going forward.
Yeah.
I submitted a menu. I submitted a requisition list of the ingredients that I needed. And because of that, I knew exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I came in and I had 2 hours.
Now, you said you submitted a menu. Is it just one entree, main course, and a dessert or whatever?
So I was given criteria. It was an appetizer or a salad, a seafood entree, and a beef or protein entree.
Oh, my goodness.
2 plates of each.
I want to hear what you chose.
Oh, man, I don't even remember what I chose for most of it. It was just shooting from the hip.
Really?
I know I did scallops, and I did pork tenderloin.
Okay. What'd you do for seafood?
That was the scallops, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess that was a main course,
yeah.
Right? What do you do for an appetizer?
I did like some like seasonal salad. It was in March, so it was just like kind of like that late winter produce.
Do you make a dessert?
No. So a lot of places, unless you're like interviewing for executive chef, like they have a pastry team. They don't even care what you do for dessert.
Yeah,
like,
I guess that makes sense.
It's not going to be part of your
There's another professional. Yeah. There's another professional that's doing it.
Right.
Now, you make this and like, went pretty smooth?
Yeah, I thought it went really well, and it was nice because I knew exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I was just running around a foreign kitchen.
Yeah, all that waste, all that extra energy you had was already allotted to the extra time finding things, how to do it. You already knew your plan.
Yeah.
Right. So that makes sense. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and talking to the chef afterwards, he was like,
do they eat this in front of you after?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it like straight up while you're sitting there, you're just like arms behind your back and they're like eating, you're like, this is, is it kind of like that?
Yeah. Some of them have been. This one was a little bit more informal, where it was just like, I'd give them a plate and then I'd go back and work on another plate while they were eating that one and just kind of keep the thing rolling.
Are you like side peeking and like looking at
a little bit? I'm listening to what they're talking about, but at that point,
you're still trying to manage what you're doing now.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like that's like a awesome level of, intensity. That's whenever the sports come out, like you're playing, exactly. It's your game right there.
Yeah.
Super Bowl, baby.
Yeah. That's the competitive nature. Like that's a big stage.
Now, are you like are you someone that like focuses, like, would you consider yourself good at like plating?
Yeah. That's something that I really worked on a lot early in my career. Like I didn't necessarily appreciate it much.
Yeah.
And then I started eating at some of these places and getting some of these books and looking at the pictures, and I was like, this is what takes it to the next level.
Yeah, I could see it.
It doesn't matter how good of a cook you are if it looks like crap on the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, coming into it more, I'm not like any sort of like crazy foodie, but I'm starting to enjoy things more. You're an adult, we got money to go, enjoy a nice meal.
Yeah.
And like that's like an extra level of it. And I notice it anytime I go anywhere. And it's just like, it's cool. It's that little extra. It goes.
Yeah. And I mean, it also affects the quality of the food too. Cause like, of course, if there's something smeared on the rim of the plate, it's not going to affect how the food tastes.
Yeah.
But you're going to see that at least the way that I think of it. I see that little imperfection and I'm like, okay, what else is going on this plate?
Yeah.
Or like the difference of putting, like if you have a piece of like a fried chicken breast or something like chicken parm, the difference between putting the sauce on the bottom and the sauce on the top.
Yeah.
You put the sauce on the bottom, the chicken stays crispy.
Yeah.
You put it on top, everything's soggy.
Yeah. I feel like
it's still the same food, but it's just that little bit of detail that changes how it is.
That's such a good explanation with that example right there, because that right there is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Chicken parm. Now, how long after you do this meal do you get a call back?
I pretty much got it on the spot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what happens after that? Let me rephrase it. It's like how out of your element did you feel at this time? Or was it kind of just like, a puzzle piece in one into the other?
So this is how I knew it was the correct next step for me. During that demo, I just felt completely at home.
Okay, good.
I was like, it felt like I had been in that kitchen for years.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I was doing. Everything felt good. It felt like I wasn't changing my rhythm at all. And there were a couple that I went on before that where like, I went into the cooler and all the produce is rotten.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're giving me a mystery basket with a cooler full of rotten produce? Like,
yeah, come on now.
Show me some respect as an applicant.
Yeah, give me something good to use.
Yeah. Like,
how many people are on your team there?
So at Oakmont, I've got, I want to say probably like close to 20 cooks total.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, it got to be probably a bigger team, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, how does like the menu and everything, like, is it a set menu or is it rotating menu?
So there's a couple things that stay the same that, have been there forever. Pretty similar to a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
But this one, we change the menu every week.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Are you someone that has like the input on the menu?
Yeah, I write the menu.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I just...
Now, I mean, like, how do you approach it? How do you approach what people would like, what people are okay pushing the envelope with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if it's a higher end, like... I would assume that you could kind of get a little bit exploratory with it.
Yeah. A lot of it is just like, we roll out a new menu on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And by Wednesday, I'm already thinking of next week's menu.
Yeah.
And it makes it tough. It's a challenge because this is the most I've ever changed a menu in my career. And it's tough for me because I don't have time to get comfortable with the menu that I'm doing.
Yeah. And like make always, fine tunes.
Yeah. So it's good. And it's good to, change so frequently.
Yeah.
But it's also tough because I can't find a rhythm with it. So it's something that early on in my time here, like I'm trying to figure out how to kind of get in the flow of everything.
Yeah. You're dancing with it now.
Yeah.
Because how long have you been there now?
About 3 months.
Yeah. I mean,
like that, yeah.
So you're still new there.
Kinda. Yeah. And we're in the height of the season. So it's just golf all the time.
I would assume you're in the thick of it right now.
Yeah.
Is there ever an off season there? Like where they close it all?
Yeah, like the winter time.
Like the restaurants open still there?
No, so we're closed January, February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you'll just be off?
We'll do like paperwork. So with the US Open coming up in 2025, we'll do a lot of planning for it then because that the scale of that event is so big that we they started planning last year before I even started.
I know. I'm trying to get my mother-in-law to rent out her house there.
Oh, you could probably pay for the house.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, come on, let's do it this year. I'll be the middleman.
Yeah.
I'll be the middleman. Let's go.
Yeah.
Told them they could come stay here. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Shave me a little off the top.
Yeah. 70-30 split there.
Because the last time it happened, it was crazy. They had people landing helicopters across their street and shit.
Yep.
That's wild. Yeah. Wild stuff. So I mean, like if you're planning, it's wild to think about like a scale like that and like an event like that because got to be planning years ahead of time.
Yeah.
Now, what's your mindset of, or not really the mindset, but what's the process of like you writing a menu? Do you have to like put it in for approval?
Yeah, the executive chef looks at it and.
But is that like a formal thing or is it just kind of like, look this over?
I print it out, I leave it on the desk and then in the morning we talk about it whenever I come in.
That's cool.
Yeah. He gives me his thought. He's been at the club for a long time.
Yeah.
He knows what people like, what they don't like, what they might be interested in.
That's cool.
But ultimately he told me, he's like, look, it's your food.
Yeah.
I want you to cook your food. That's why we hired you.
Are you someone that takes criticism well?
Depends on who it comes from.
I love that answer. That's a great answer. That's a perfect answer. I feel like that's exactly
I feel like if you know what you're talking about, then
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll take absolutely any sort of direction from anyone that is doing anything. Don't even need to be something that's like better, but it just,
Yeah. And that's ultimately why I ended up leaving my hometown. Cause like a lot of people in the town have this idea of like quantity over quality.
Yeah.
They're like, why am I paying $15 for this burger when I can go to McDonald's and get 12 or 13 McDoubles?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense, but there's a lot of quality there. There's, thought put into it, professionals making it.
Yeah.
It's much bigger than just the amount of the burger.
Yeah. Technique is in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's craft.
Yeah, it's a craft. I love that. That's interesting. Now, in your experience there, what is there anything really, I feel like that you kind of got the in because you already put in a good stint at like a big ass like Bedford, you know, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, what I learned there has given me the skill set to be successful in what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that tenure there, if I didn't have those experiences, it would have been a struggle.
Yeah.
But,
be drowning right now.
Oh, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Because in those places like Bedford, that's where you learn to tread water.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think you do best? Like, what do you think that you like, what do you enjoy? Like, do you like cooking meats? Do you like, cutting things up? Like, what is your favorite thing to do?
I don't know that I have a favorite just because
you enjoy it all.
Yeah. The kitchen is,
you love the craft.
Yeah. Just it as a whole is what I enjoy because I can do something different every single day.
Yeah. Is there a favorite meal you like making? Like you don't even need to be at work. I'm talking about just in general.
Not really.
What do you think you're best at? What would your wife say your best meal is?
Probably grilled cheese at this point.
Are you a picky eater yourself?
I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Very picky.
Like how picky? Like only one thing?
I think I was a vegetarian for like 7 or 8 years.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting
Just
to hear.
I'm a very textural eater.
Yeah.
I got to have something crunchy.
Yeah.
Like I can't just sit down and eat a bowl of mac and cheese.
Oh, really?
Like
gotta have something in there.
Yeah.
Will you eat like oysters and stuff?
So I'm actually allergic to seafood.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How do you cook seafood? Like
I don't know. I got to wear gloves, and then
not like a crazy allergy where if you're like breathing shit in, you're gonna start.
I'm fine with that. But like I can't eat it and I can't touch it.
Yeah.
So
wow.
yeah, I've gotten really good at making an educated guess for a lot of things, but I rely on a lot of the people around me to taste it. And,
you gotta have other people taste it, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. But you ever just have an accident where you're like, oh holy shit, there's something.
So when I was at Bedford. I had a new sous chef working under me, and he was allergic to shellfish. And we're in the heat of the moment. I'm working the line with him, and like I'm doing something with both of my hands, and he's like, "Hey, can you taste this?" And I don't even look to see what it is, and I just grab this. Like he just puts a spoon in my mouth, and I just immediately spit it out on the floor. I'm like, "Is that shrimp?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I'm allergic to shellfish," and I'm like, "Yeah, me too." And he's like, "Oh shit."
Are you like as bad where you got an EpiPen?
I probably should have one.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with bees. I'm like flirting on the line with bees.
Yeah.
If I get stung in the throat, there might be a problem.
Yeah, I got Benadryl like strategically placed in like my car and my knife bag. Like I got some in my golf bag in case somebody throws a shrimp at me on the golf course or something.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Like, what do you think is the most challenging part of your job?
I'd say just leading and motivating people.
Yeah.
A lot of people get into this industry because, they like to cook or something along those lines with food. But,
I feel like that's not even the most difficult part. The most difficult part is managing people, I feel.
Yeah, it's trying to like figure out how to get other people to do what you have in your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily be like a boss, but be a leader.
Yeah.
Have people come with you and try to convey what your thoughts are in the right way that are vivid enough for people to understand them.
Yeah, the biggest thing, like, kind of my philosophy on how I lead others, like, I like to control the situation.
Yeah.
And then let everyone else do what they do.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because then they gain the confidence. But they're in a good situation to start. Yeah. If you're putting someone in a bad situation, the odds of them gaining confidence, not very high.
I like the way that sounds. Now, in a position like you're in right now, I would assume that the lower the chefs that have lower seniority, like what's like the lowest chef there? Is it a prep cook? Or what's the ranks?
Yeah. We got some prep cooks. We've got line cooks, and then line cooks kind of go into different scales. A lot of places do like 1, 2, and 3.
Well, what I'm getting at is really like, the level that you're working at, kind of weeds out the people, I would assume already by then. Like the people that you're working with would have already been weeded out, the bad eggs.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, I guess.
So a lot of a lot of line cooks and prep cooks, they're on their own path in their career.
Yeah.
They're all at different stages.
Yeah.
And especially post-COVID, a lot of cooks' motivations have changed. A lot of people want to work for themselves now.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, everybody has a unique attitude, and you kind of gotta manage that person.
Yeah, and their expectations.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess that would be another sort of factor that's been worked into the equation with COVID is like almost like, you know, people that have their walls up now.
Yeah.
And like, you know, tread a certain way, which is interesting. Now, as far as, you know, you getting this job at Oakmont, like, is it like kind of surreal to you to work there? Like, do you get, does it come with some perks? You ever get to golf there?
I haven't yet.
But will you?
I will.
Like you're allowed. You are allowed.
Yeah, at some point. So they're doing course renovations in preparation of the U.S. Open. So
what's like the everyday of like I need to. I know someone who was a caddy there, and I was like, I need to get a greensman in here because I feel like it would be pretty insane to hear about that level of, you know, upkeep and everything. Yeah. It's pretty crazy, I would assume, right, from what you see.
Oh yeah, the level of maintenance that is given to everything.
Yeah.
Everything's just so green.
I know. It probably looks amazing there. It's like
it's great.
Anytime we drive by, it's like you always see someone working on something.
Yep. I gotta pinch myself because every night, you know, employee parking's right by the driving range, and you know, I leave the kitchen after service, and then I get to walk past the driving range.
Yeah.
And like, just like what? It's just surreal.
Yeah. Now, are you allowed to just drive right there? Like go drive some balls?
It would probably be frowned upon.
Yeah.
You know, I've given it thought.
Can't mix with the company, right?
Yeah. I got to get some tenure before I do something like that.
I was just going to say, 3 months, I would give it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, like, what is your goals? I mean, obviously, I ask everyone what their goals are, but, you know, you're kind of fresh in your position, and you got a lot to go there. But what are your goals as a chef?
You know, I don't know. I used to be a big fan of the 1, 3, 5 year plan.
Yeah.
And then, you know, again with COVID, like
nothing certain.
Yeah. Everything just kind of blew up. Like, you know, I've thought about, you know, having my own place.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, are you someone that like would want that eventually in life, you think?
Early on, I didn't.
Yeah.
It is way more fun spending other people's money.
Yeah, that's what I feel like that it's easy to gather that. Like I've talked to people that own their own spot, and I've talked to people who work at their own spot, or I mean work at someone else's spot, and it's like, you know, both have their beauties.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the older I get, the more that I see that I would want to do it, but I don't know when.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and what is, you know, like what is, are you like how do I want to describe it? Whenever you're thinking of these menus, like where do you get like your inspiration from? You know, I know you said you had a lot of years to like kind of brainstorm about this stuff, but like as a chef that's always trying to like, you know, be on like the forefront of like what you would want to do, be different. How do you do that? Like, where do you get your inspiration?
A lot of it, like the way that I look at food, I feel like is different than a lot of people. You know, a lot of people look at food and they know how it's going to taste.
Yeah.
I break things down into different elements and like different textures and different colors. So, you know, something crunchy on the plate that's like golden brown. You got something on the plate that's raw or like fresh vegetable that's like orange or red or something. Something that just like checks all of these boxes, but they're all in different pieces.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like I'll flip through a book and I'll just look at the pictures.
Yeah.
Like I don't even need to read the recipe. And then just kind of see something like, you know, I was stuck on like melon the one day. I just really, like, I saw a picture of a cantaloupe and I was like, man, that looks great. What can I do with that?
Yeah.
So like, that's part of a dish that I'm working on, like just trying to figure out the different elements of it.
That's interesting. I feel like it would be so fun to do that. You get pretty wild at home? Are you one of them?
Not as much as I used to.
It's like one of them things where it's like, oh yeah, you make great food all day at work, and then you come home and you eat like a hungry man meal or something.
I am a big fan of the buttered noodles. We rip through cases of pasta at home. I mean, I can understand that. It's like, you do all your work there. Yeah.
Leave your work there, and it's like you're gonna come home and slave away.
Yeah, all of my fun toys are at work. Like, I just have the same home oven that everyone has.
Do you get pretty crazy on like Thanksgiving and stuff?
Yeah, usually Thanksgiving is good.
Yeah.
The family Christmas, it's funny, I never actually had a family Christmas until I moved away.
Yeah.
Because I was always at work for the hotel.
Oh, I guess so.
So it took me moving 2.5 hours away to get holidays off, which is just weird to think about when you put it like that.
It is weird to think about that. That's cool that you get to go. I mean, I feel like, being capable of, all these feats, making this food and everything, that's whenever it would be fun around holidays. Me, I get like manic, I'm crazy kind of because I'm not like a chef. I mean, I could cook a little bit. I know how to do shit, but I'm dumb enough to want to try.
Right.
Like last year I tried to make some greens, did not make them as good as they could have been. They weren't done all the way. I didn't have a ham hock, just stupid shit that I didn't really think through. But as a chef, like I'm friends with these people and I see what they make, and I see what be a little bit innovative, just little tricks of the trade to work in. It got to be something cool to be able to pull that card every once in a while.
Oh yeah. There's all kinds of like little, I don't want to call them shortcuts because that's kind of like a negative connotation, but there's these little tricks that, make things way easier.
Tricks of the trade.
Yeah. I mean,
that's all it is.
For holidays, like my wife and I will just write a prep list.
Yeah.
And like people are looking at us like we're crazy. And it's just like, that's what my everyday is. I write a prep list.
Yeah. You just look at it differently than other people. Yeah. That's interesting. What do you do for fun?
Usually on the golf course.
Yeah.
That's
golf a good bit.
Yeah.
What do you usually shoot now?
I'm usually like low 80s. Depends on the course.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't get good until I was like 22, 23.
Oh, wow.
I never put it together. I mean, I was out there grinding, but
pretty decent now though.
Good. Yeah, I play pretty well.
God, I'm terrible at it. We should go sometime. We'll get out there
for sure.
I love moon golf. I always see you up there.
Yeah, that's usually where I play.
I love that.
It's
course.
accessible. It's close to the house.
Yeah, it's close to the house. It ain't too expensive.
Yeah, it's in great shape.
It's in great shape. It's a great course around here. You're not going to like Quicksilver. You're spending a shitload of money.
Yeah.
It gets wild. Golf is an expensive sport for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. I bargain hunt on that all the time. I don't pay full price for anything.
Yeah, you got to. I ain't good enough to know the difference. Okay, so you think we missed anything with your employment? You think I missed anything about being a chef? You want to get to the ending segment?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even give you your Dr. Pepper. I got it in the fridge right here. Let me crack. Come on.
Pepper.
Let me get it for you. All about it.
I love a good Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, there's your Dr. Pepper. Honestly, least favorite beverage out there. I was never a Dr. Pepper guy. My wife loves it.
I love it. 23 flavors.
23.
There's something in there for everyone.
Tastes like barbecue sauce. It's like watered down barbecue sauce.
It's the all-purpose mixer.
The all-purpose mixer.
Yeah, 23 flavors. It mixes with everything.
It's a good point. You could probably put anything in there and it would work out all right. Okay, ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions. Desert Island Questions whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies to take with you.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Hot Rod for one of them. That's a classic.
It's a good one.
Inception.
It's been so long since I watched it, but I need to revisit it.
Every time, I'll go back every 6 months or so, and it's just as good every time.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
Probably Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm a Marvel guy.
I am not a Marvel person. It's not that I dislike it. It's just never really peaked. I watched Iron Man 1 and 2.
No.
But And I feel like it's one of them things. It's like whenever you didn't start Game of Thrones from the beginning.
Yep.
It's like I'm one of them people that didn't watch Game of Thrones because there's just too much.
Yeah.
It's too much to commit to.
Yeah, you gotta.
How many Marvel movies are there? 25?
Yeah, more probably.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
I could never watch all that.
I feel like you got to hang your hat on one of them. It's tough to do all of them. Like I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy.
That's what I mean. I'm all right with stepping away from that side. You know what I mean? You guys can have your Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a million of them.
Yeah,
Go ahead with it.
It's not for everybody.
I watch all the horror movies. I like to go, and rom-coms. We just went to go see that new Jennifer Lawrence movie last night.
Okay.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Are you a movie guy? Like you watch a lot of movies?
Yeah. I try to.
TV shows too?
Yeah, TV shows I'm not as good with just because there's so many of them.
So many. It's hard to get through it all.
Yeah, with the baby on the way, I'm making a binge watch list for things that I can catch up on while I'm up at 3 a.m.
Hell yeah, you'll be able to cross off a good bit. I binged The Bear. It was so good.
Yeah, it took us like 3 days, I think.
It was great. Definitely worth watching for people that haven't. Okay, second category. I usually ask people 3 books. Do you have 3 cookbooks that you like? I got a different question if that doesn't work out.
I can give you the 3 that I usually use.
Yeah.
The Flavor Bible.
Yeah.
Sounds like corny and not useful, but it is by far the most useful tool in the kitchen.
Okay.
It breaks down. You can look up any ingredient you want. You look up broccoli. It'll tell you what season it's in. Like, I think that one's usually like late summer. It'll tell you when it's in season, how it tastes on the palate, whether it's heavy, light, whatever it may be. And then it'll give you all of the things that pair with it flavor wise. So like,
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah. And it's only like $15-20 on Amazon.
Is it pretty thick?
Not as thick as you would expect it to be.
Okay.
But it's like a number one tool. I keep it in the kitchen. Every place that I've worked, I always have my copy. And it's like, if you have something, you look it up and then you can find what to pair with it.
Okay.
That's great.
That's good.
Let's see.
Are you a decent baker? I feel like
I've been told that I'm good at it, but that's all my wife. She has the baking and pastry degree.
Okay.
So
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, she does all that.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Some chefs are like, oh yeah, I'm not good at baking or anything like that.
I need to get better at it. I'm interested in it. I just never have the time or the headspace to.
That's fair.
To give it an honest shot.
That's fair.
I like 6 Seasons. I think it's Josh McFadden.
Never heard of that one.
That one's a really good one. It breaks down. It's a very vegetable forward book, but it breaks things down into the seasons. So when I'm doing seasonal menus, I can flip to something. Like right now, we're in the midsummer part.
That's
so
interesting.
I can flip to a midsummer section and see all of these items that are in season right now.
Yeah, and make some from that.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. That's a good way. You gotta. How about let me interject with this last one. Do you have a celebrity cookbook that you like, or a celebrity cook that you like?
Like Food Network chef.
Like someone like that.
Kind of deal. I really like Sean Brock.
I don't know who that guy
is. He was on Netflix's series, Chef's Table.
Is he the British guy?
No, he's from the South. He's from Virginia originally, but he does a lot in like Charleston, and I think he's in Nashville now. We went to Nashville last year and ate at a bunch of his restaurants.
Oh, pretty good.
They were amazing.
Yeah. Are you like a food? Do you watch food shows?
It depends on what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of the Food Network stuff just doesn't have what I'm looking for anymore.
Yeah, like what about Netflix? Like, do you watch like them like like the street food chronicle shows and like things like that?
Every now and then, I was really into Chef's Table.
Yeah,
it just gave good perspective on a lot of different people. I try to consume as much food media as I can, but it's tough. There's so much to sift through anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably you don't even want to it's probably like overstimulating for you that like you're in that every day.
Yeah. I come home and I just like turn on Sports Center, like NHL Network, and just sit on the couch.
That's fair. Okay. Third category: 3 CDs to take.
Ooh. Number 1. forever and always is Foo Fighters, Wasting Light.
Okay.
Dave Grohl's the man.
Yeah.
He's it's weird to say as a chef, but he's kind of who I model my professional career around.
How so?
Just his philosophy on life and like acceptance and inclusion and reinventing himself all the time.
Yeah, just wanting to be all right with being malleable.
Yeah. I mean, he's at the peak of what he does, and he's just
still
a regular dude.
I just saw on Reddit, he was just standing in the crowd at some show randomly, just in the crowd. Someone just had a cell phone picture. It was like, I turned to the right and Dave Grohl was sitting there.
Yep.
I can't remember which show it was, but I was like, it's pretty cool. It's cool whenever you hear stuff like that.
Yeah, that's who I strive to be.
Okay.
Like
That's
just a normal dude. Doesn't matter what you accomplish, it's just a normal dude.
Okay.
No. So the second one is Arctic Monkeys, AM.
Okay.
I'm not a huge Arctic Monkeys fan, but man, that album just cover to cover.
Okay.
Just
what was their hit song, Arctic Monkeys?
They had a couple off of that album.
I feel like they had one that I remember always being on the radio.
Do I Want to Know is one of them. Yeah, probably that one. It's tough for me for the third one, like.
What were you into growing up?
I loved pop punk.
Okay, like
that
what?
Was like all time, like All Time Low, The Main, Fall Out Boy, all those guys. We just saw Paramore when they were in town. So good.
Yeah, my buddy, I just went to dinner with him the other day, and him and his girlfriend went, and they said it was unreal.
That was the best non-Foo Fighters show I have ever seen.
It's so wild to think that like Hayley Williams and Paramore is like to the level that they are. Same thing with like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, we saw Fall Out Boy when they were at PNC last year.
Oh, it would be insane.
It was so good.
But I remember seeing Paramore with like Phantom Planet. They were opening for Jack's Mannequin.
Oh, Jack's Mannequin.
This was probably in like 2010. And I remember no one knew who Paramore was.
Yeah.
And it's just like weird to think about like their level now. Same thing with Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
It's like a little scene weird kid back in the day listening to that. And now he's like, larger than life.
Yeah.
Same thing with Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
It's weird to think that Bring Me the Horizon gets played at NHL games.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy.
Like that whole era, like I was walking through the grocery store and like the Main started playing, and I was like,
it's wild.
What is going on here? Am I officially that age now?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm lucky because like my wife was, into the exact same music. We've had to have been to, probably 50 of the same shows before we ever knew each other, but we still just like, we're still just like jamming out all that shit. I still am listening to Jack's Mannequin. I'm still listening to all the old stuff. Oh, yeah. You can't really beat it.
There's an emo station on Sirius XM.
You already know that.
It's just
all the time you got to put it on.
Hit after hit after
Craig
hit.
Owens just put out a remake of Baby Wouldn't Last a Minute on a Creek. And it's pretty great. I mean, it's cool now because like we're getting to the age now where all these people are like so old now. They're like, let me revisit my childhood of these songs that are 20 years old and make a better version of it.
Yeah.
I'm here for all of it. Okay. Was that, you picked 3, right?
There's I think so.
That's a good bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other ones I like. Like I'm very, very multifaceted in my.
Well, I feel like that. I'll give you an umbrella for the third choice of all the pop punk because there's a lot of good stuff. Okay, second or third to last question is the death row meal. So you get an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. You have to pick them. Last one before you're put to death.
It's tough because I don't know. I always cook the food. I never eat the food.
What do you eat? What do you get for an appetizer when you go out to eat dinner?
I don't know. Whatever the weird thing is that they have.
Yeah.
I try to find the weirdest thing on the menu that's not seafood. And
like you eat weird shit now? Like you eat like bone marrow and stuff?
Oh, I love bone marrow.
Yeah.
Foie gras. Anytime foie gras is on a menu, I'm getting it.
Okay. I guess, I like weird shit too, like steak tartare, all that stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff.
And that's the thing with like eating small plates. Like you get to eat a bunch of weird things instead of just like meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd probably do like I had a really great hush puppy appetizer years ago in Chicago.
I saw it on your Instagram. Was that the one I saw on your Instagram?
So that was a dish I did inspired by it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But it was just like hush puppies and manchego cheese with like cream corn.
Oh wow,
that was so good. So
looked good.
Let's do that for the appetizer.
Okay. I'm curious to know what your main course is. No idea what it would be.
I'm going with the Bar Marco chicken parm.
Chicken parm.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to go to Bar Marco.
That's the thing. I don't know if it's on the menu anymore since like post COVID, but
I got to go.
Man, that was the thing. That was how I found the restaurant before I even like interviewed there.
Oh, you like their chicken parm?
They like got a social media following for their chicken parm night on Tuesday nights. They used to do industry night.
Oh wow!
And it was like chicken parm, burgers, some pastas. But it was industry night, so it was just like a giant like party there.
Yeah.
And they like kind of blew up on Instagram, like the early days of Instagram with the chicken parm.
Wow.
And
been probably 15 years since I ordered a chicken parm anywhere.
And it's tough too, because I got some of the worst food poisoning of my life on chicken parm like years ago, like 20 years ago. Like
that's terrible.
And it was the weekend of a bowling tournament. So I bowled the first round on Saturday. We went out for dinner and I ate the chicken parm, and I was like on my deathbed Sunday morning before bowling day 2.
Oh my God. Did you bowl? Did you roll?
I did. It was not a good score, but
that's all right. You rolled.
I did it.
All right. Okay. So that's good. Chicken parm. That's interesting. Yeah. Would have never guessed that. Yeah. Okay. Dessert. You dessert guy?
I am. I got a sweet tooth.
Me too.
I was raised on Little Debbie snack cakes.
Me too.
Fudge rounds. Oof.
Donut connection.
Oh yeah.
My dad would get me a dozen donut holes with 2 chocolate milks, and then next day we would go to McDonald's, get a McDonald's big breakfast. It's like that was my life growing up. That's why I look like this.
I am a sucker for a good blueberry cake donut.
Yeah, good. That's good.
Yeah, let's go with like a half a dozen donuts, some blueberry cake, strawberry frosted.
Wow.
Boston cream in there.
Boston cream. That's my go-to. Boston cream for sure. Okay. Second to last question, probably the most telling. Getting ready to go on a road trip.
Okay.
You go into a gas station. You get to pick one snack. What's your snack?
Ooh. That's a tough question because I'm the snack guy. I have 2 designated snack cabinets in the house. I got a salty cabinet and a sweet cabinet.
I'm usually a sweet guy.
So I very rarely go into the gas station because the car is already full of snacks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of change with the seasons. Pringles are always a good option. I can crush some sour cream and onion Pringles.
Yeah, they're good. What about a sweet option?
I mean, the whole lineup of Little Debbie's is there.
You still fuck with them?
Oh, I love them.
It's been a minute since I've had one.
I had to cool it on them under doctor's orders.
Yeah, we all had to cool it on Little Debbie's.
But yeah, they're still there.
I was always a ho-ho guy.
Yeah,
ho-hos, ding dongs. It's been a minute, but I always eye up them like an apple pie.
Oh yeah,
but them things I know they're the worst for you, or like a cheese Danish, just filled with preservatives.
Yeah.
But I see them every day at the gas station.
That thing will outlive you.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff though.
I like the tasty cake butterscotch crimpets.
Butterscotch.
Those are good.
Oh my God,
those are so good.
I always nowadays it switched. I probably wouldn't pick a ho-ho or anything like that. It would be a zebra cake, specifically a zebra cake from Mediterra. I feel like that is, people often ask like what my desert island meal would be, or my last death row meal rather. All I know for sure is the dessert would be a Mediterra zebra cake. Just absolutely breathtaking. The best baked good I've ever had.
I'm going to have to go check that out.
They're like, I'm telling you, it's amazing. It really, really is. I put Mikey and Bob onto them because they posted a Little Debbie, and I tweeted it in my hand, and it's like the size of the palm of my hand. Man. And they were like, holy shit. But they're very good. Okay, last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Can I cheat and pick one of each?
Yeah.
So alive would be Dave Grohl.
Okay.
I mean, just like we talked about.
Yeah.
He's the guy. I just want to pick his brain and shoot the shit with him.
Yeah, that would be cool.
For the other one, I'd say Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Is he dead?
He is. He passed away, I want to say 2017. I think it was right before we moved to the city. Yeah.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
He really like changed the landscape for professional athletes and like endorsements. He was one of the first ones to like endorse products.
Really?
Yeah, I think there was a graphic that came out, I think this past year, that adjusted for inflation, he has made the most money out of any professional athlete ever.
No way.
Yeah.
Arnold Palmer teas.
Yep.
Lemonade teas.
The pride of Latrobe.
That's pretty crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
Like he was one of the first ones to do that?
Yep.
When did that even happen? You have any idea?
Probably, I want to say probably like the 60s or 70s, whenever his playing career was starting to wind down a little bit. Like I think there's a documentary. It might be on YouTube somewhere. I'm not sure,
I'm gonna have to look that up. That's interesting to hear.
It's just like he would endorse everything, like laundromats, car dealers, like everything.
That's pretty cool.
And it was like that 70s mindset where they're like, oh, well, Arnold Palmer likes this, so I'm gonna like this. And then it just blew up.
Yeah, the Gazelle.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
now
then people like that. You have like Chuck Norris endorsing the Gazelle. You're like, Jesus, Chuck Norris got it. Let's get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so interesting to think about that.
Yeah.
All those people back then. Wow. That's a good answer, though. Arnold Palmer and Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, we did a podcast. You answered the Desert Island questions. I think it went very well. I appreciate you cutting out some time and talking to me about what you do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, take a second and plug everything you want to plug right now.
Yeah, I mean,
no one can even come. No one even can come and eat any of your food.
I can't plug anything. I mean, if you want to be a member at Oakmont, I mean, go through the channels there. But stay tuned for the U.S. Open in 2025. It'll be a real big deal for the city.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty wild. All right, well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Everyone else that's listening, appreciate it as usual. Each and every week, back with another great guest. Actually, before we get to this, I always ask the chefs the hard questions. If you had to pick 3 places that you enjoy in the city, what are they?
Well, here's another shameless plug for Bar Marco.
Well, that's fine. Because I feel like that you convinced me to go there.
Yeah, I love them. I'm a big fan of Morcia in Lawrenceville.
Me and my wife, my birthday's on Friday, and she was asking me, but like I would say I think you're going to be 249 episodes. Out of all these episodes, I swear Morcia has probably been picked more than anything. I would say probably 8 or 9 times, and it's a place I've just never been, and I'm going to have to go there.
Yeah, they get it right. They do a very good job there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go. You think Morcia is like, how far out do you think they are? Pretty far?
In what way?
To get a reservation?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to like
squeeze in there.
You might be able to scoop like a 2-top bar table.
Yeah.
Like day of. You could set up an alert.
Yeah,
too.
last minute.
Yeah, like it'll alert you if anybody cancels. That's usually the way to get in around Pittsburgh. Like you get that.
I know. I had to make reservations at like Pousadis for like 4 weeks out.
Yeah. Let's say D'Anoio's for my third.
We were there twice in a week last week.
Right there in that Italian wheelhouse of mine.
Man, it's a great place.
It is.
It's a great place. We were there twice on accident, but we were not upset. All right. Well, I appreciate you entertaining the hard questions.
Yeah.
And now, everyone, I appreciate you guys for listening as usual. If you enjoy the podcast, you enjoy what I do, I got a Patreon. You could like and subscribe to the podcast. You could share it to your friends. That's all I ask you, but I appreciate it. Each and every week, we're back with another great guest doing great things and hearing about our city. Thank you for listening. Call you right back.